Hello and welcome to Views on News. I'm Jawad Tehami. There is a major development as far as the economic and trade relations between the United States of America and Pakistan are concerned. Both the countries have reached and signed an agreement, a historic agreement. In fact, just yesterday, and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has expressed his profound gratitude to President Donald Trump for his leadership role in the finalization of this historic Pakistan-United States trade agreement. In his post on X, he said, let me quote, "This landmark deal will enhance the growing cooperation between the two countries and expand the frontiers of the enduring partnership in the days to come," unquote. At the same time, we had seen President Donald Trump saying Pakistan and the United States will work together on developing their massive oil reserves. We are in the process of choosing the oil company that will lead this partnership. Who knows, maybe they will be selling oil to India someday, unquote. At the same time, we have seen Pakistan's finance minister Mohammad Aurangzeb terming this particular development as a win-win situation for both the countries. Also saying, let me quote, "From our perspective, we were always going beyond the trade imperative. The trade and investments have to go hand in hand. We will start with the energy, then there is mineral and mining, IT, and the new economy that we are talking about." We are in a good place today in Pakistan in terms of where we have arrived before August the 1st. We have come a long way in terms of our overall strategic partnership between Pakistan and the United States of America, unquote. At the same time, Pakistan's embassy in the United States of America in a statement has said the agreement will result in the reduction of reciprocal tariffs, especially on Pakistani exports to the United States of America. After this particular development, we had seen that Pakistan stock exchanges witnessed a bullish trend. We'll also be talking about that particular development. And before that, President Donald Trump had said that India will be paying 25% tariffs from August the 1st. And this he said in his post on Truth Social. There were a number of other important things in that particular post which we will be taking up for discussion during the course of our conversation in today's program. For that, we are honored to be joined in the studio by Dr. Shujat. Farooq is the Chief of Research at Pakistan Institute of Development Economics. Dr. Farooq, thank you very much for your time. And on the video link, we are honored to be joined by Dr. Karl Kaltenthaler. He is senior analyst joining us from the United States of America. Dr. Kaltenthaler, thank you very much for your time also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Dr. Farooq, if you allow me, let me begin the discussion with Dr. Karl Kaltenthaler. Dr. Kaltenthaler, looking at this particular agreement between Pakistan and the United States of America, this is as per your understanding, is it unprecedented where the overall trajectory between these two countries is standing at this particular point in time with this major economic development between the two?
It's definitely unprecedented in terms of American-Pakistani economic relations. It shows a real commitment, I think, on the part of the Trump administration to deepen ties with Pakistan economically. I think the Trump administration really appreciates the efforts made by the Pakistani side to kind of meet the United States halfway or even more. Compared to some of the other countries that the United States is dealing with now in terms of trying to create these trade deals, Pakistan has been much more cooperative, and that's very much appreciated in Washington right now.
Right, Dr. Kaltenthaler, our finance minister, Mohammad Aurangzeb, is of the view that this particular development is going to prove as a win-win situation for both the countries. As far as the economic cooperation between the two countries, as far as trade and investment is concerned, how do you think, as far as American perspective is concerned, is going to benefit the United States of America in the days to come?
Well, I think it benefits the United States in that it, one, sets a model for how these trade deals can be worked out. and they can be win-wins. There's some very tough negotiations going on right now. I'll give you an example between the United States and India. That's not going well. The Indians have kind of really stuck to their guns and don't want to open their markets the way the United States would. So I think Pakistan's trade deal with the United States will be held up as an example of what can happen if both sides are really committed to making change. I think the Pakistani desire to invest in the U.S. market is a positive thing. It'll help the United States, but it'll also help Pakistan. I think one of the main things that comes out of this is that there will be technology flows from the United States to Pakistan that will very much benefit the development of the Pakistani economy.
Dr. Kaltenthaler, there is something that has been specifically talked about by President Donald Trump in his post regarding U.S. helping Pakistan out in developing massive oil reserves. And I'll come to the last part of this particular post related to Pakistan as well, where he's referred to India perhaps one day getting or Pakistan selling oil to India. As far as this particular dimension is concerned, as per your understanding, as you have already mentioned, Pakistan can benefit with the technology flow from the United States of America. As far as this particular sector is concerned, where Pakistan should be looking forward to, what sort of cooperation can be expected from this side, what could be taken as an advantage when this particular offer has been so expressly announced by President Trump himself?
Well, I see this as a very, very positive thing for Pakistan, because what Trump is saying is that American firms will now be encouraged and will have incentives to help develop the Pakistani oil market. And one of the things you have to think about is that American oil firms. So I'm not just talking about firms that themselves get oil out of the ground in the United States. I'm talking about firms that go around the world and help countries get the oil out of their own ground. Those firms are very, very high end in terms of the technology they've got, in terms of the expertise of the people who work in that industry. That will very much benefit Pakistan. If you look at the Middle East, if you look at the people who are the experts on oil exploitation, in other words, getting the oil out of the ground that may otherwise be difficult to get out of the ground, a huge chunk of that sector is dominated by American firms. So this will definitely help Pakistan.
Right, Dr. Kaltenthaler, please stay with us. I'll come back to you for a number of other aspects that I want to understand from your side as well. For now, we are honored to be joined by another participant, Dr. Nouman Sattar. He is senior analyst. He is expert on Pakistan-US relations. Dr. Nouman Sattar, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. How are you looking at this particular development, this agreement as far as trade between the US and Pakistan is concerned in the overall equation of the current trajectory between the two countries?
I think it's a major development for the two countries. And I think it has many dimensions as well. And I would say it has both economic and political dimension. Of course, massive, you can say, development of oil reserves, discovery of oil reserves from the as announced by President Trump, goes very strongly in direction of not just oil exploration, but economic development. And of course, I would also say, since both the countries have been talking about trade and trade issues, and of course, Mr. Trump has also announced tariffs. But then I'm sure this development, when this that you can say goes through like in a couple of months, and maybe it would take a longer time, this would definitely support Pakistan and push Pakistan toward, like, of course, we are on our way to recovery, but still we have a long way to go. And I think we can, through this, we can also address trade issues. Of course, there's going to be, I'm sure, U.S. supporting Pakistan through manpower, technology, expertise, etc. So I think it has a multi-dimensional, you can say, effect and impact on Pakistan's economy. And I would say when the economy gets better, when the economy is good, I think it also helps in the political realm as well. So I think it's a major, I would say, a breakthrough both for Pakistan and the US. And in the past, as we have seen, Pakistan has been developing oil, you can say, the discovery, etc., with other countries as well. And I'm really not sure. I think in economic video as well, if the US has been helping us, but there have been other countries. But I think the US coming forward, especially the Trump administration, that has we see sort of a soft corner at this time for Pakistan, and it is coming out with, you can say, helping out Pakistan in a sector that I would say really also needed attention from the government, and I would say from outside investors, and especially from a country like Pakistan, from a major power by Pakistan that has really very, you can say, history of oil exploration, and of course the very well developed, you can say, blooming, budding oil industry. So I think that helps Pakistan in a big way and in many ways.
Dr. Nouman, Sattar, while President Donald Trump talked about Pakistan and also US going to help Pakistan in the massive oil reserves, developing those, in that particular post, he has referred to India at the same time as well. Perhaps they will be getting oil from Pakistan someday, or Pakistan is going to sell oil someday to India. What's your understanding? What could be the possible reason when he's talking about Pakistan, he has at the end of that referred to India at the same time?
Okay. As you know, as we all know, that President Trump links trade with peace and peace with trade. And when he talked about, brought about that ceasefire between India and Pakistan, he also talked about trade. And in a way, it was also, if I could say, a warning or a threat that if the conflict continues, there is going to be no trade, and US won't be doing trade with both the countries. So I think what he has in mind is, like, I think it's a long-term thing. I don't think this is happening anytime soon, or there are good prospects of this prospects for this at this time. But I think what Mr. Trump has in mind is like a long-term peace, peace for South Asia. You can say stability in South Asia, and when the two countries on such terms that, of course, India is a huge economy, and of course it has huge like heavy industries, and it needs it is also importing oil from other countries, including Russia, which of course not goes well with the US. So once India and Pakistan, first of all, at peace, then towards a more positive peace, and there is more stability, and the two countries are in a position as they have been involved in imports and exports, so like different like small items, but then oil is a major thing that India needs. Of course, it's getting from Iran, it's getting from Russia, and of course from other countries. So I think there is a possibility, like I would still say long term, that Pakistan would be, once these reserves are discovered, and of course there is oil gets into flow, so Pakistan could do that. But of course, I would say no possibility of this at this time in the short term, but in the longer term, yes, there could be a possibility. And of course, also let's keep in mind that President Trump sees this as you can say sort of a guarantor of peace. When the two countries are involved in this kind of trade, for example, oil from Pakistan to India, and by the way, it's going to be very economical for India as well, like right across the border, like through like from Balochistan through Sindh and into India and Gujarat, and joining into India. So that would maybe in a way ensure peace, or a you can say more stable peace between the two countries. Yes, I would say that's what Mr. Trump has at this time.
I mean, if we look at the timing of both the developments, as far as President Donald Trump saying that India will be paying a 25% tariff from August the 1st, and then he also referred to how India had been getting weapons from Russia, also the energy from Russia. Right the next day, we get this particular development of Pakistan and the United States signing this particular trade agreement. There was also a potential 29% tariff that was to be imposed from the United States on Pakistani exports to the US. Pakistan's embassy in the US says now this particular trade deal is going to reduce that particular reciprocal tariff, especially when we talk about the Pakistan's exports to the United States of America. Do you think it would be considered as a huge setback as far as if we try to compare the trade relations of Pakistan with the US and the trade relations of India with the United States of America?
I think at this time it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be more of a setback for India. And of course, as we have seen, while US has been talking about, or maybe even before they were discussing trade with many countries, President Trump would be using both carrot and stick at the same time. And sometimes it worked. In some countries it worked, and in some countries it did not work. So what he, of course, refers to about Indian economy being dead, and of course India being close to Russia and getting oil from Russia, these are not something that President Trump would accept readily or happily at this time, because India is a strategic partner and has been very close to the US. But then whatever has transpired after the Operation Sindoor and of course the limited conflict, and then how peace came about, I think, and whatever is going on in India is sort of a controversy about the US role. So I would say that President Trump at this time is not really or so happy about that. So I think what he mentioned, and of course when he talks about the trade tariff, the 25% tariff and all that, and of course like a penalty on Russia as well. So I think as all this reflects how President Trump deals with politics. At this time, he's dealing with politics through trade. And I think like in Pakistan's case, it has been successful, both in both realms, politics and you can say trade or economy. So that's his way of dealing. And at this time, it doesn't seem to be like going well with the Indians, as well as for both sides, for the US and the Indians as well. But at the same time, it seems to be going well both ways. For Pakistan, of course, gains a huge lot, and I'm sure US by involving US companies again and getting them leeway, or you can say opening into Pakistani oil industry, I think that would be a big thing. And of course, President Trump, he would be interested in getting involved at this time. And I think overall, in the big picture, he would like to see this as going towards peace. And I think that would be a big thing if this brings peace to the region, to India, Pakistan, that has been conflict prone for like as long as we have known.
Dr. Nouman, Sattar, please stay with us. I'll come back to you. Dr. Shujat, Farooq, the dividends associated with this deal for Pakistan in particular.
Thank you, Jawad. I think this is a great economic and strategic opportunity for Pakistan, because if you see, our main concern is trade deficit and current account deficit, and we are struggling with this, that trade deficit over the last many decades, and that's why that you have to take loan and we have to engage with IMF, etc. So mainly, if you look, our mostly current account surplus that is coming from the Western economy, including that United States of America, as well as that European Union. For example, if you look the last year, we have some $3.5 to $4 billion trade surplus with that USA. So USA is historically a big market for Pakistan, as well as that USA has a very strategic role in Pakistan's development since our independence. You can see Sinto in 60s, implementation of our 5-year second plan, and then you can see especially that in 80s and in 2000 you can see massive foreign direct investment Pakistan has received from the USA. So if you look last 15 years, that now there is that certain power shift from north to south. So US was more inclined toward India. So we were facing certain hurdles due to that. So I think this is a big relief for Pakistan, because we were in an uncertain condition when 29% tariff was imposed on Pakistani exports, and now I think this is a big relief for Pakistan. And that in lot of that trade economies, since they have imposed the tariff on Indian economy. So for example, in textile, in rice, in certain pharmaceutical, surgical instruments, we are basically the competitors of India. So we must have to taken this leverage in that in next few years we have make certain that reforms in our that tariff adjustment. You can see that in recent budget we have make certain tariff reforms. So I think this is an opportunity where we can extend our items to US market with more productivity, with more value chain. So definitely that it will build our economic development and help to achieve the country certain export-led growth.
More access to the US markets, and also that competitive edge Pakistan is going to have as far as the other countries are concerned, and more specifically when you talked of these particular sectors of textile, pharma, and surgical instruments, as far as India is also concerned. Beyond these two things, when we hear Finance Minister Mohammed Aurangzeb saying it's a win-win situation for both the countries, what's there as far as the American is taking advantage out of this trade deal is concerned?
I look it from two aspects. First, that if we compare our trade with India to US market, it's quite negligible because our trade is hardly below $10 billion. And US and India trade is, that is more than $130 billion, and it is favored in, that Indian side. So, that India would definitely suffer because, that India is exporting some close to $90 billion to, so definitely they have more threats, and there could be certain issues on their current account deficit, as well as that employment opportunities, etc. On the other side, I see that in Pakistan, US and Pakistan, they are looking toward more in terms of strategic partnership rather than that trade partnership. And I think this our recent conflict with India, that is a blessing for us. That is blessing for us because it have reimagined a good image of the country in, in market, and as I mentioned earlier, that now that world is going into bipolar because that now there is a global south as well, and you can see there are a lot of regional development, like for example recent USA tax on that tariff on Brazil, South Africa, that is mostly linked with BRICS as well. And I think India is also in the same terms because they are saying that you are importing oil from Russia, and similarly you have more that weapon trade, etc. with. So I think this is a strategic partnership, and it will give us certain leverage because that we are a fair young society where our youth, we have lot of youth, and we have to equip this youth with that IT technology. Same that we have lot of minerals in Balochistan, etc. So definitely we require a competitive environment in our country where definitely a good technology, definitely it will boost our foreign direct investment, and SIFC is also there. So definitely that it will contribute in our economic growth.
Right. Dr. Kaltenthaler, what's your understanding as far as this particular post regarding agreeing to this particular trade deal with Pakistan? President Donald Trump at the start of this particular post says that we are very busy in White House today working on trade deals. I've spoken to the leaders of many countries, all of whom want to make the United States extremely happy. And down in this particular post, when he talks specifically of developing the massive oil reserves of Pakistan, at the end of it, he says that who knows, maybe they'll be selling oil to India someday. Now, a day before that, he had also in a post announced that 25% tariffs India will be paying from August the 1st. Now, when he specifically talks about Pakistan, developing Pakistan's massive oil reserves, why would the president refer to India in the same very breath? Is it sort of a message or sort of a slant towards the Indian authorities? Is he trying to convey some sort of a message to India?
I think there's a lot to be interpreted from that post. I think one thing is that Trump is under a lot of pressure to show that his tariff threats are actually producing beneficial deals for the United States. Because there's a lot of commentators in the US that are saying these tariffs will hurt the United States more than they will benefit us. And a lot of countries seem to be digging in and saying, look, we're just not going to bend to American pressure. So for Trump to hold up this deal with Pakistan, I think what he's trying to say to an American audience is, look, this worked. That some of this pressure is actually paying off, and we've got countries who are coming to strike deals with us. The reference to India, I think, is about two things. I think the reference to India is to say, look, we struck a deal with Pakistan. Why can't we strike a deal with you? You should do the same thing that Pakistan is doing. I don't think you're going to see the same kind of response from the Indian side that we've seen from the Pakistani side. Protection of the Indian economy has been entrenched for decades. It's a central part of how the Indian economy works. It's a very, very potent political issue in India. And I think Trump is starting to realize that his pressure on India is probably not going to produce the results he wanted. So he's kind of saying to the Indians, look, we struck a deal with Pakistan. If you don't strike a deal with us, you don't get the benefits, but you also may get more of the pain. I think the other thing that he's trying to say here is this is all needs to be taken into context. Trump has really lost his patience with Putin. I think he was absolutely convinced that Putin would cut a deal with him about Ukraine. And now he sees that Putin has really no interest in cutting a deal about Ukraine. And Trump, if anything you want to say about Trump, he hates being portrayed as a sucker or somebody who has been taken advantage of. I think that really, really bothers him. And so what he's saying is, okay, you Indians, you're actually allowing the Russians to continue this war, not you on your own, but you're helping by buying Russian oil. And so you're helping Putin basically stand up to the United States and thumb his nose at the US. So I think that's a big lesson to take from this. India could really face some pressure, not just because they're not cutting the deal that Trump wants, but also because they're buying Russian oil, which is allowing the war to continue.
So, Dr. Kaltenthaler, are these the two reasons which he referred to in his post regarding India, that India would be paying 25% tariff, the India purchasing the weapons and energy from Russia? Or do you think, are there any other factors at play as far as Trump's administration's perception of Indian leadership is concerned, especially when we talk about Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was pretty much confident that he was trying to correlate MAGA with his MEGA, making India great again. And he had some sort of aspirations that the cooperation between both of these countries is going to reap some really considerable dividends for India.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Trump in his first administration and how he talked about India, how he dealt with Modi, it's very different than how Trump is now dealing with Modi in his second administration. And I see a lot of that having to do with Trump putting so much emphasis on how these tariffs would leverage American economic power against other countries to produce trade deals that would be beneficial to the United States. And the Indians are not budging. And for Trump, that's humiliating. That's a really very, very disturbing thing. And so if I was the Indian government right now, I'd be very concerned about what could come next. I mean, we've seen how Trump has doubled down on some countries' governments who he sees as either not bending to what the Americans want, or who are viewed as going after American allies. Look at Brazil, for example, going after Bolsonaro. Trump is all over that with tariffs and very, very dire threats against the Brazilians. What we call the bromance between Trump and Modi may be ending because Trump may have thought, well, I can leverage my relationship with Modi to get him to cooperate on Russia. That's not happening.
Right, Dr. Kaltenthaler, please stay with us. Dr. Nouman Sattar, as far as we saw in the recent past, Pakistan had a victory against India militarily. We saw a success on the diplomatic front. Now, this particular success on the economic front. Now, back-to-back victories as far as Pakistan achievements on a number of fronts are concerned. How do you think this thing would be seen or is being seen from the Indian authorities' perspective at this particular point in time? Are there any lessons for them to be learned from this entire saga?
Okay. These back-to-back victories, both political or you can say military, and now this one, you can say, in the economic field, I think it has had a major impact on Pakistan, on Pakistani politics, and I think overall on South Asian politics as well. Of course, on the other side, we have India, and we have seen what's going on in India. The you can say raising controversies about US tour, raising controversy, or you can say doubts about the Indian planes down, and of course, overall there is a what we saw during the conflict. The same thing is continuing even to this day, and I'm sure we should wait for some comments from the Indian side. They would remain skeptic about peace in Pakistan. They would be skeptical about trade with Pakistan. But I think India would not take this lightly. And of course, as we had just been talking this show as well, uh, the way Trump has been, so to say, treating India, because I would say in this term, the second term, India thought they would have very good relations, very cordial relations with the Trump administration. It has not been like that. It has been, Trump has been more, if I can say, business-like, and I think probably the Indians were expecting them more to be, you can say, to put pressure on Pakistan, and Trump has not done that, and he has done that in the overall South Asian peace context, or you can say South Asian, you can say a political context. So I think India definitely would not be happy at these back-to-back successes, and of course that's very clear from their narrative that has been going on from their official, and of course as we can see it very clearly on social media. But we are yet to see what they have to say on this particular deal, and I think as it develops, as it goes forward, I'm sure Indians would not be happy. And since you also talked about lessons, yes, they are lessons for any country from any conflict. From they have to learn and maybe look where they are going. And I think you would agree, and others would also agree. Till now, India has not really learned any lesson. They're not trying to learn any lessons from what happened in during Operation Sindoor, and after that, the role of America. You can say the overriding role of America and the role of the Trump administration. So I think they are yet to accept that, and I really don't know if they would really accept that. Of course, there are voices coming from Indian opposition. We have just heard recently, like from Rahul Gandhi and the members of Congress, and even from there, you can say intelligence as well. But the government, the BJP and Mr. Modi, is not really willing to take that seriously and to maybe see things in a different light and proceed like in the, I would say, the changed reality of the world under Trump and the changed South Asian reality vis-a-vis Pakistan.
Right, Dr. Sattar, please stay with us. Dr. Shujat, Dr. Kaltenthaler, let me go to him and then I'll come back to you for your understanding regarding as to number of different aspects regarding what sort of sectors could be focused. Dr. Kaltenthaler, one last question as far as the way forward from here, and especially keeping in view the recent behavior of India as far as their standing in the Committee of Nations is concerned. There is a proven track record of their state sponsorship of terrorism, especially that assassination on a Canadian soil, as well as that assassination attempt on the US soil. Do you think that factor has also come into play as far as the US authorities' approach and perception towards Indian authorities at this particular point in time is concerned?
I think it does matter. I think that this was viewed in the United States as India really overstretching and doing something that not only is highly illegal in the U.S., but is humiliating to the United States to say that U.S. sovereignty doesn't matter and you can just come and murder people on our soil as you want. That didn't help. I don't think that's a factor on the same level as, say, the U.S. relationship with India vis-a-vis China, or the U.S. relationship with India in regards to trade imbalance. But it certainly hasn't helped. It's not something that gets mentioned much in the U.S. media, and that's important because Trump and many people in his administration are very driven by what's on television. What is the U.S. public talking about? What are the pundits talking about? They feel that they have to dominate the narrative. that's really not a very important part of the narrative here in the United States. Not like the murder in Canada, that that dominated Canadian press coverage for a long time, and it's still something that irks Canadians when it comes to their relations with India. But I think in the United States right now, Indian intransigence when it comes to cutting a deal with the United States on trade is really what's dominating people when they talk about India, and it's not positive.
Dr. Karl Kaltenthaler, senior analyst, joining us from the US. Thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Dr. Shujat, Farooq, your understanding as to the potential as far as development of oil reserves in Pakistan are concerned, and also what could Pakistan be looking forward to take from the US experience in this particular area?
You know that if you look the President Trump's strategy, that is basically focusing on overcoming the trade deficit of United States of America. So that's why you can see this all tariff war that is happening over the last few months, and now they are settling with certain other countries. For example, you know that right now they have concluded with Japan, they have concluded with European Union and many other countries. So definitely you know that as I mentioned earlier, that there is some 3.5 to $4 billion trade deficit that USA is facing with Pakistan. It is not a big, you know, that number if you look overall United States of America trade deficit. But I think there are few areas because when this tariff of 29% was imposed, we done certain analysis. So for example, you know that there could be certain few import items that Pakistan can import from the USA, and Pakistan is already importing. For example, you can see there could be certain petroleum products. Similarly, we are importing certain raw materials in our, you know, that industry, for example, cotton, etc. And same could be, for example, you can see there could be certain machinery, etc. that we are importing from European Union and Germany, etc. So that could be one area, you know, that it will give certain, you know, that confidence and trust of Pakistan with the United States that we are bridging this trade deficit, because you know that Trump administration that is very concerned on this trade deficit. On the export side, I think we must take on this leverage because right now India is facing, you know, that high tariff. Bangladesh is facing high tariff as compared to Pakistan. So these are the areas, you know, that where we have a huge textile, you know, that comparative advantage. So we should take on this leverage, and you know that already our 70 to 80% of the export to United States that is comprises on textile. So same is with European Union. So I think textile, that should be our focus. Third,
what about the oil industry?
Yeah, I am coming to that. And then I think agriculture and pharmaceutical, these are other, you know, that areas where, you know, that if our industry progress, you know, that we can add certain values and productivity, and definitely it will boost our export. Now I am coming to certain, you know, that investment opportunities. I don't think that in petroleum Pakistan have lot of reserves, because you know that lot of, you know, that geological surveys have been conducted. So there is not too success rate in Pakistan, and even, you know, that we have exhausted our most of the gas reserves. But there could be certain areas, like for example there could be coal mining, because you know that in Thar we have one of the largest coal reserves, and we require certain technology, because you know that still we are importing lot of furnace oil as well as, you know, that other oil, you know, that to fulfill our energy requirements. So I think here, for example, in Thar coal, if we receive certain Western technology, so definitely, you know, that it would be climate friendly as well, and it will definitely, you know, that reduce our import bill.
Understood, quite understood. Well, Dr. Shujat Farooq, Chief of Research at Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. We come to the end of today's episode. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.